Under the sea, under the sea. Welcome to Tattoo Tabletop. My name is James, and today we are talking about the Idoneth Deepkin. Now, believe it or not, this is actually one of my earlier main armies, and probably the one army that actually helped kickstart this channel, because one of my earliest videos, which was the Tampa Open, I was my very first GW event, and so far it's my only GW event, but I'm looking forward to changing that in the future. So this book came out, and I realized I hadn't talked about it at all. So this is me without a hat. Kind of sad, isn't it? And you can see a lot of gray. There's a lot going on there. But as we already know, this book has been out for a hot second. So I really just wanted to talk about different things about it. My takes. Now we're not going to go war scroll to war scroll. We're going to cover maybe the formations a little bit. We're really not going to get that far or that deep. Yep, I just did that pun. Into the book. We're just going to talk a little bit about my takeaways from this book right away. So starting off right at the beginning, one of the major differences from the index rules to this, and for that matter, all previous rules for the Idoneth Deepkin, is there are now two tides: the tides of the sea and the tides of the storm. You're going to notice this is going to be a theme throughout this book, because now we already had an Eidolon of the sea and an Eidolon of the storm, and they are still here. But now we have an icon of the sea and an icon of the storm, which is another Akkalian thing. Essentially what happens is once per battle round, you choose your tides, A or B. And from that point on, you proceed down that chart. So to start, tide of the sea, concealing tide for the rest of the battle round, subtract one from hit rolls made by friendly target. Attacks that target friendly Idoneth Deepkin units that did not use charge abilities. So -1 to hit. But here's the thing, you can change between the tides. You can start with tide A and then go to tide B, or vice versa. But the difference being, if you're hopping back and forth between the tide, you only go back to the beginning of it. So if you make your way through 3 battle rounds going 1, 2, 3, and you decide, okay, well, now I don't want to loop back through, I want to go to a different one, and you hop over here, you have to hop over here. You can't take this one, you can't take this one, even though you're over here on this one. You have to go to the first one. So it's going to allow for a little bit of interesting play, whether or not you start on one, go all the way through, and then move to the other two, or whatever the deal is. But that is one major change to them as well. As far as formations go, a lot of them are the same. We do have a Namarti core where you can reroll run and charge rolls for friendly Namarti units while they're wholly within 12 of the Akkalian units. So they still require Akkalians, which makes sense because Akkalians are your HQs. They're all your hero characters. There's no Namarti hero yet. There's the Namarti Thrallmaster, but he's still an Akkalian, right? So I mean, there's still not really much in way of the Namarti representation there, and I'm going to cover you here right now and essentially just tell you that there's really not a great way to play Namarti in this book, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But otherwise, you still have your Akkalian Beastmasters, which add 1 to hit rolls for combat attacks made with companion weapons, which is kind of just auto include, and let me tell you, it just gets only better from there. Pretty basic, pretty straightforward. So the change to the tides, solid change. I still kind of like the original tides for the third one, but I still got to get more games out before I can officially say which one I like better. Artifacts, and they're about the same. Lore, the spell lore is pretty much the exact same. And instead of getting 3 individual manifestations, now we got the incarnate of the deep, which is a cool idea, and it's pretty solid. I'll talk about it a little bit later as well, but goes off on an 8 because it's an incarnate and it's watery. So how much are we looking at with changes for this army? Well, right now, to me, Eidolons are still your main hero. I still think that you're going to see a lot more Mathlan, which is the aspect of the sea, primarily because he has a spell that goes off on a 7, or they have a spell that goes off on a 7 that picks up to 3 individual units within 12, and -1 to save rolls, which you can stack. This to help stack with Rend and stuff like that to really carve through saves on things. Still pretty good as a whole. Again, I'm not going to try and go much into it. And of course, the Eidolon of the Storm, the aspect of the Storm, has 7 attacks, 3's 2, Rend 2, damage 3, or damage 2, but when it charges, it's damage 3, so it's a big combat piece, and can also offer up, pick up pick an enemy hero and on a 3+, give a strike last. It's still pretty solid and can add +1 to wound for combat attacks or other ones. So your Eidolons are still going to be very much a part of your gameplay. They're still going to be one of your main driving forces. I still don't have an Eidolon. I like them. They are cool models. I will say I'd rather them be name, if that makes sense. They strike me as a presence that should have a name. Teclis is a named character who has his magical abilities and everything, and obviously he's the original creator of the Idoneth, PTSD enabled. And you do have named characters in Idoneth Deepkin like Volturnus and the new one, Mathala. I think it's how pronounced, Mathala. We'll cover her in a little bit as well. But Eidolons have named energy. Like when you think of like big really cool models, 90% of them have a name. You have Karazai, you have Krondis, Iridan the Witness, you have Talia Vedra. There's Archaon. A lot of your big models are named characters, so it is kind of a little weird that these guys are not named, but you know that's okay. I mean, it means technically you could bring both with their powers and everything like that. But it's just it's a weird thing that I have, and I think there could be more there. Volturnus, about the exact same. There's a lot of Rend 1 in this book, but I think that's more of an indication of the edition because there's a lot of Rend 1 in almost all the books, unless they have the anti something keyword in there. So that's about the exact same there. As a whole, Idoneth Deep can still play just about the exact same as they always have. Move very fast, can be very punchy, and that's what they do is they just run in, they eat you, and then they try and get out of dodge before it comes a problem. I imagine Idoneth Deepkin players are not going to have a ton of trouble with battle tactics. They probably can choose a lot more of the battle tactics for this current general's handbook because of the fact that they have such mobility, because they have such movement. This is actually going to really, really help them out. And as a whole, they have no issues. I mean, an Icalian king moves 12. Even Mathala, the new named character that's been added, moves 10 inches. She's on foot, by the way, in her model. She's a foot hero, but she moves 10, so she's already very fast. And she's going to be an auto include, just in case you were wondering, because she has any combat phase, pick up to 3 friendly Idoneth Deepkin units wholly within 12 of this to be the target. And for the rest of the turn, add 1 to attack characteristics of target companion weapons. Yeah, so she just makes your eels, your sharks, your turtles just get scarier. And that's what you were already bringing anyway. We have the new Icon of the Storm, Icon of the Sea, like I had mentioned before. Those two very cool models. I don't know that they are going to show up very often. I mean, there's one that gives a 3d6 charge, could be beneficial. That could be good for and it doesn't specify foot characters. It just says pick this unit and a friendly unit within combat range. So that's kind of nice. But again, it's all going to be points, and admittedly, Idoneth Deepkin do get a little bit expensive. Your soul render is the exact same with the lure light rolls. You're gonna get, you sell your soul scry, your tidecaster. Tidecaster is still only 1 and can do rituals. Solid enough. There is one bit that I want to talk about. One part of this book that does make me a little sad. So let's just I'm going to keep my finger there so that it saves the page. I still don't feel like there's a great way to play Namarti, and that sucks. For anyone who's been a fan of the channel or has watched any of the previous videos and who may have seen my Slave to Darkness review, one of the biggest problems with the Slave to Darkness Battletome was the internal balance. Now, internal balance versus external balance. What does that mean? Well, you could look at a book and everything could look nice and good in here and, look nice and solid, but you could go out into tournaments and you could see that your army doesn't do well against other armies. Now that's external balance. That's your individual faction trying to fight other factions and create wins, score points, etc., etc. And that's external balance. This one, we're talking about internal balance, which means the war scrolls in here are competing with each other to show up in your list. Now, a good internally balanced book means that you have a lot of different options in the book and you can run whatever you want to run, which you could do anyway if you really want to, if you're not interested in being competitive about it, or if you're just like, these are the units I really like, or these are my best painted units. You can absolutely do that. As you know, I encourage you to do that. That is a lot of why I'm here. You see all this? These are choices, and I thoroughly like them. But The one bit for me that's been missing for Idoneth Deepkin is playing more Namarti. I like the Namarti. I love the idea of the Namarti. I think they're cool. It's like a weird elf daredevil multiplied by an entire faction. That's cool to me. The fact that they feel the ripples and they feel like the changing in the tides, and that's how they see is they feel that. It's very cool. It's very thematic. But they just don't have the profiles. Now, you still don't have really a Namarti hero of any kind. You just have an Akelian Thrallmaster, which is solid. He can give crit 2 hits, which isn't terrible, but and of course you can immediately activate a friendly Namarti Thrall unit after he fights. 6 attacks, 3s, 4s, -1/2 damage for him. 5 health on a 5-up save though. He's in no ward, so even the most basic unit can just kill him outright without any censor, without any issue. Reavers will still make a play, I think, just because they're a ranged unit. Their range is only 12, which is pretty close. 2 attacks, 3s, 4s, -1/1, which is pretty standard. Crit auto wound, again, still pretty standard. And it can run and shoot or retreat and shoot, which is great. Move 7, it's 5 up save, 1 health each. So the moment they get tagged, they're eating it. Now, I know this is how this was before, but this still really made me sad. Namarti Thralls, move 6, 5 up save, pretty standard, 1 health each. The Landmari weapons are 2 attacks, 3s, 4s, -1, damage 1, and they have anti-infantry +1 rend and anti-monster +1 rend. Now, that does just make me sad. I think Thralls had a potential better play when they had a previous rule which meant that if they were fighting something with 1 wound, they got +1 rend to that unit. I thought that was great. And then if they were fighting something with 3 or more wounds, then they went up to +1 damage. And I thought that was a really good use of that rule because that meant that they were a multifaceted melee unit. You could run a unit of Namarti and you could run them at a monster and you could run them at infantry, and they're not necessarily guaranteed to kill it, but they have a better shot. Now, with this only increasing the rend by 1, to me, looking through the book and looking at some of the bonuses, there's just better things you can run with better durability, better hitting power, and just overall better value. I mean, at that point, you might as well cost Namarti down to what Dark Oath are, maybe even a little cheaper, because they're really not going to show up much. And yes, you can resurrect them with Lure Light rolls and stuff like that, but you're spending a lot more points to get Lure Lights and to get Soul Renders in there, along with Thrall Masters, and even then, the benefits and the bonuses to that aren't going to be enough for you to drop anything sufficiently, not even just in terms of combat power, but you only move 6. So Reavers move 7, and the Thrallmaster and the Marty move 6. And for an elf faction that usually should be moving just like a little faster because of like their play style, that is a little disheartening. If we're being honest about it, I would love to see Namarti have a proper play. If I was on the Games Workshop side of things, the model that I would be working on would be like a heavy infantry Namarti. I think that sounds really cool. The idea of like Namarti being brought up to be, some sort of armored troop for the Idoneth Deepkin, that'd be really cool. You could have, they obviously have like their little neck piece. You could give them like a chest piece. You could give them more greaves and stuff like that, like properly armor them up, or even put them in like crab armor or something, like really lean into that nautical aesthetic or something like that. You can write cool lore about how these Namarti had to go and hunt this crab creature that's really dangerous to make their own armor. Like there's cool lore bits that you could really include in there to make them work. But I digress. That is not where we are at. Otherwise, Leviathans, they're still a big beat stick. They move 10, 16 health, 3 up save, 5 up ward. They're Scythed Fins and Crushing Jaws, 7 attacks, 4s, 2s, -2 damage, 3, and they have Crit Mortal, which is great. Anti-monster for all the harpoon launchers, which is great. Like the Alapexes are about the same. And again, these are the characters and these are the war scrolls that are going to benefit it from Mathala. Mathala is going to juice this. It's going to juice these. It's going to juice your eagles. So she's going to be an auto-include in probably an Eidolon of some kind. I mean, I feel like this really didn't shake up a ton with Idoneth, which is totally fine because they were doing fine before. But on some level, I kind of would have liked to have seen a bigger change here. I would have loved to see things shake up. I would love to see the Namarti get a balance there. I mean, as far as the book goes, the majority of your stuff is mounted, so on a very real level, that is going to be, so I guess, somewhat decent internal balance in the fact that there's still e-gills and you can choose those or alapexes or what have you to choose whatever you would like. The incarnate has a few cool little things. First and foremost, it is a very, very cool model. On some level, I kind of also I would have liked this and something, but it is an incarnate, so you get one. Its melee attacks have anti-faction terrain. Why? I don't know that one. I'm not gonna lie. I can't even really justify that one. I mean I get the idea of like this watery beast, magical beast thing, like destroying foundations and so, but just kind of a waste. I mean, it is damage 3, which is great. 6 attacks, 4 is 2, -1, damage 3. I mean, at that point, you might as well make it anti-manifestation like the other incarnate, so that it kind of matches that with its different thing. It's got tendrils that can ensnare things so that it can't use commands. You get pluses. There's some cool stuff there. Again, I'm not going too deep into the weeds because there's probably been this book has been out for a second. You probably have people who have covered this book more in depth. So in summary, how do I feel about the Idoneth Deepkin book? Good. I don't know. It sounded enthusiastic. Good. I think the book is good, and I think you're going to still see plenty of Idoneth Deepkin players. I think they're still going to be in some of the top spots. I just would have liked more changes. I guess I don't know. I think more so in the units. We got 3 new models technically because we have the icons and you have Mathala, and then, of course, I have the Incarnate of the Deep. But I still just kind of would have liked a few more things, especially when we have the entire ocean to draw on for this faction. So I was really hoping that we'd actually see a bit more fleshed out with them. But as a whole, I think the book is going to be just fine. I think there's going to be plenty of play, and I think there's a lot of really good combos in the book. I'm just mostly a little upset that there's still no real path to Namarti spam. I think that would be fun. I think at the very least, giving them a better regimen of some kind or formation would have been a lot of fun. But when they're 5-up save and 1 health, and the thralls specifically, Namarti thralls, you can't even say they're a glass cannon because they're not a cannon. They're a glass pistol, or they're really not going to be able to punch up or punch anywhere for that matter. I mean, even if you threw them into Skaven, there's not a guarantee they're going to get through Skaven, and that's really kind of upsetting because they should be able to carve through 20 block of Skaven, but it's very, 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 very unlikely. Even with the anti-infantry, it's really not gonna do much. Namarti Reavers are still going to be in there, absolutely. People are going to fish for the range, but at the same point, you're running sharks, you're running eels, you're running turtles, you're having a good time in the ocean. But let me know what you think down in the comments down below. What do you think about the Idoneth Deepkin book? Are you a player of the Idoneth Deepkin? Have you fought them in the past? Let me know what you think down in the comments, and of course, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Vastly appreciated. Also, just a heads up, with this video, I have launched my Patreon. I'm very excited. I've taken some time to set this up. There are going to be probably a little bit of growing pains with it as I start to navigate it and try and figure it out and how it works and everything like that. But if you'd love to come and join me, I will include a link down below in the description. Come and join me. I would love to see you there. Yeah, just let me know what you think, and I'll have some more reviews coming up in the future. And of course, I'll have some lists. I do have some fantastic collaborations, including this weekend. I'm going to go visit Tabletop Titans. I am very, very excited to go visit them out west. It's going to be a great time. I'm very excited. I'll be bringing my Flesh Eater quartz, so that should be a good time. And I'll have some more stuff. So hope you come and join me. But until next time, like I said, feel free to like, share, subscribe, check the Patreon, and what's the other thing? Oh, that's right. Go paint something.